I'm Jordan Rayner, and this is the Word Before Work. Today we're reading from Hebrews 11, verse 8. Here's what it says. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. In the first devotional in this series, we debunked this myth that Christians should wait around for this amorphous, quote, sense of peace before making really big decisions at work or at home. Today, I'm sharing the first of 3 biblical truths that can grow our confidence to make decisions. And here's the truth I want us to see. God rarely gives us all the information we want before we make a decision. That may not sound freeing, but trust me, I promise it is. Hang in there with me for just a couple of minutes. Genesis 12, chapter 1, tells us that God had asked Abraham to leave behind his country, his people, his family, and head off to an undisclosed location. Clearly, information that Abraham would have loved to have known before deciding whether or not he would obey God. But as we just read in Hebrews 11:8, Abraham obeyed God despite the fact that he did not know where he was going. Do you think Abraham experienced this warm and fuzzy feeling of peace about making this move? I seriously doubt it. Just like Abraham, God rarely gives you and me all of the information that we need, that we feel we need in order to make important decisions at work and at home. Through his word, through his people, and the Spirit's leading, God often only gives us clarity about one step at a time. He gives us wisdom to discern the next right thing, and then he expects us to step out in faith even if we don't feel peace about where that next right thing might lead. At the risk of offering 2 Frozen 2 references in a single paragraph, oftentimes God calls us into the unknown. This truth is actually paradoxically freeing. If we grasp this, we can stop waiting for an unreliable feeling of peace and start relying on the certain peace that comes from recognizing that if God took care of our eternal needs, he will surely care for our temporal ones. Here's what one of my favorite Bible teachers, Jen Wilkin, says on this topic in her great book, None Like Him. She says, quote, "We want to peek into what's next. For the unbeliever, it's horoscopes, palm readings, and tarot cards. For the believer, it's much the same thing, loosely draped in religious trappings, asking God for an extra biblical sign, claiming a Bible promise out of context. We tell ourselves that if we knew the future, we would put that knowledge to good use. But how likely is that? It's far more likely that we would use that knowledge to stoke the flames of our self-reliance and to forward our own self-interests," end quote. Man, that's seriously good. I love Jen Wilkin. Here's the deal. Chances are that God's not going to give you all of the information you want before you make a decision about that job or about that product launch or moving to a different city. Let that truth free you to just make a choice and rely more on him and his assurance of peace in the process. Today's devotional only scratches the surface of how God's word connects to our work. If you want to go deeper, sign up for my free 20-day devotional called The Word Before Work Foundations at twbwfoundations.com. These email devotionals are designed to help you gain a rich understanding of the biblical narrative of work, how exactly your work matters for eternity, and how those truths influence how we should work today. Sign up for free right now at twbwfoundations.com.